Hello and welcome to Financial Perspectives, a CFA Society San Francisco podcast, where we interview and discuss trends with leaders from across the investment and finance industry. This month, our host Tanya Tang, Membership Director with CFA Society San Francisco, had the pleasure of speaking with Asad Malik, CFA, Head of Machine Learning Finance and Infrastructure Strategy at Google. Listen in as they discuss what investors should know about the AI boom and the future of machine learning finance. Good morning, Asad. How are you?
Morning, Tanya. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining me at today's podcast episode. I'm very excited to have our conversation started, and because we're talking about something that I think it's more than a buzzword now, ML and AI, right? It's been going on for quite some time, but we're going to take a different approach and perspective about it. And, with your background as leading ML finance and strategy for Google, who better to talk to than you about it?
And yeah,
Um,
first of all,
yes.
thank you for having me on your Financial Perspectives podcast. And I hope I can share some personal views that'll help our listeners think about all the recent ML fun. So it's super exciting to be here.
Great. So let's start a little bit of a background. When we were talking before the podcast, you had mentioned significant changes in AI and ML investment trends since 2022. Wow, so long ago. Could you share a bit more about what you think is driving these changes?
Yeah, for sure. It feels like yesterday, to be honest. It's moved so fast. I mean, AI research, it's been advancing for decades. But I think the Big Bang moment was really in late 2022 when millions of people got their hands on some of the most powerful large language models, right? And maybe it was a pandemic that locked us down and we just needed someone to talk to. But with AI chatbots, you could ask questions the way you would with a human on the other end, and you'd get these detailed responses on any range of topics. Even the flow of information, the way you had this back and forth dialogue, it was the same way as if you were interacting with an expert. And then you have image generation and now video generation, which has only further captured our imagination. Like if you wanted a visual or a clip of something, you could just create it in an incredibly short amount of time. And so that massive public interest, it's really sparked this surge of investments in this area, and it's only grown since then. So the early chatbots, they were very cool, but you could still see flaws in the quality of the responses, right? And in some cases, you were getting answers that were just flat out wrong. But there was, and there still is, the strong belief in scaling laws that if you made the models larger, more complex, and you invested more in the computational power behind them, you could create an even better model, something that was more accurate and helpful. And so you take that belief in scaling laws with some notion of monetization at the end of the rainbow, and you get billions of dollars now being poured into this industry.
So I'd love to get your thoughts on all the funding going on into this industry and what are the areas investors should keep an eye on?
Yeah, that's actually a really important question. I mean, we talked about scaling laws. You need to grow compute infrastructure to improve large language models and create more helpful products. So that's number one. Number two, you also need investments in infrastructure to serve those products to the consumers, right? This is the capacity you need to bring that model to billions of users. And then number three, you need the talent to implement all this and drive progress. So when you add all those three up, you get these really expensive builds. And I think the industry as a whole is likely spending around 4x this year than what it did back in 2023. Building all this infrastructure also takes time. So the investments in growth you see today are still constrained since the demand showed up yesterday. But you can tell from the large project and some of the deal announcements that this is only going to continue growing in the future. Another area for investors to observe, I think, is that the leading companies in this field at different stages of the AI economic chain, they're trying to become more vertically integrated. So some are already there, but basically it means that you own the infrastructure, the chip development, the research, and the end products. Right? That's a very important way of integration that helps you drive efficiencies at scale. So given all these billions of investments, the expectations from the industry are certainly very, very high. And so this is my view, and I'm borrowing from leaders from the industry that are much more knowledgeable about this than I am. But I think AI is probably overhyped in the near term and significantly underappreciated in the long term, right? Like the model improvement, the product development, and more importantly, just adoption within the industry and consumers, it will take time. But all that said, I think AI is still one of the most significant transformations of our lifetime. There's a lot to be excited about. And so for investors, you really have to strike that balance between being bold, but also responsible.
I appreciate all that feedback. I totally agree with you, and I could see exactly where
you're coming from. In your opinion, what are some of the most promising products currently being developed in the AI space that you could see reshape industries?
Yeah, there's a lot of promising products being developed at the moment. And I think some of the most exciting ones, in my opinion, are really in number one, drug discovery, number two, in automation, and number three, I would say general productivity. So if you look at drug discovery, the process today relies heavily on lab experiments, right? Like these can take over a decade and about $3 billion on average to bring a new drug to the market. AI could accelerate that by 10x. And that's very exciting. And you can expand that to general scientific research as well. Like the amount of PhD hours it takes to make breakthroughs could be dramatically reduced. And the outcomes for that, for the industry and also humanity as a whole, are just incredible. Number two, I would say automation. So you have these predictive models, and there are a range of industries that will benefit from these models that improve automation and drive significant change in processes. So, for example, being able to forecast customer demand, being able to predict when things will fail, improve quality control, detect fraud, and so much more. I think this is going to hugely revamp how a lot of industries think about their operations today. And number three, I would say general productivity. So writing code, creating spreadsheets, putting together presentations. There's so much time that goes into that. You have a rough idea of the output you're looking for, but you need to go through steps 1 to 100 to get there. So having AI that can help you skip most of those basic steps involved is really going to unlock a lot of our time that we can spend thinking more about the analysis or the end product. And so there's a lot more that I haven't covered, but these are some of the most important ones from my perspective.
I think that's a really fantastic feedback. These are great sectors to really look at and see how AI can kind of help, as you said, accelerate things. And, AI has been around for quite some time, as we said in this podcast, but there's still some hesitancy from a lot of people in the public, whether in the industry or outside. What advice would you give, whether students or professionals who are listening in and are still hesitant to incorporate AI into their daily work routines? And really, how do you get started?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I would put myself in the hesitant professional category. I'm still learning how to make the most of these new available tools as well. But I think it starts with intention and curiosity. You have to ask yourself, is there any part of what I'm doing right now that could be done with AI? Maybe if you have a sibling or you're a new manager with a team now reporting to you, this will sound familiar. But you almost have to retrain yourself to think from a perspective of, hey, what can I delegate and get done for me? So yes, I could pull this presentation together, but can I get AI to do it for me? I could read through all these reports, but can I get AI to summarize and maybe help me focus on the most important parts of it? And I would say, really try out all the available products, see what works for you. So that said, I still think it's incredibly important for students and professionals to develop their underlying core skills, right? Like if you don't know how to code or create a research report and so on, it'll be hard for you to understand what kind of outputs you're getting from AI and how to best filter those for the final product. I'd also recommend caution on AI outputs. It's important to continue sense checking. You want to think critically about the answers that you're getting. But I think at the end of the day, really think of AI as a powerful productivity boost and intentionally find areas to leverage it and free up your time and bandwidth.
Those are really some great feedback. And thank you so much, Asad, for your time. I know it's been a very busy time for you personally. So I really appreciate all the insights and feedback you provided us. And I'm sure our listeners are going to have a lot to take away and digest in this episode.
Awesome. Thanks, Tanya.
Thank you to this month's guest, Asad Malik, for joining us today and shedding light on the evolving world of AI and machine learning in finance. Join us next time for another Financial Perspectives episode airing on the last Tuesday of the month. Make sure to send in a message to the show by emailing podcast@cfa-sf.org. We'd love to hear what you thought of this episode or any suggestions on future topics you'd like for us to cover. Thank you for being a dedicated listener. This podcast is produced by CFA Society San Francisco, a not-for-profit professional association providing professional learning and career resources to over 13,000 investment industry professionals worldwide. To learn more about CFA Society San Francisco, visit our website at cfa-sf.org or connect with us on LinkedIn.